All right, welcome back to another episode of the LREIB podcast. For those of you just passing through, here's where we discuss life, relationships, and everything in between. So Dave and I are back again with another topic. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe. Let us know what you guys think. Let's talk about some stuff. Dave, what's going on, brother?
What's going on, Kev, man? How are you doing?
I'm good, man. You know, another week. That's all I can say about it.
Yeah, I hear you, brother. I hear you. It feels like this week went by way too slow. It's still going by too slow, but yeah, man.
Well, at least today's Friday. I'm off next week, but not really off because the kids are, home on winter break. So that's another job, but at least I don't have to go into that place, So
Exactly.
Anyway.
Right. So I sent you over a couple ideas earlier this week, and came across one that piqued both of our interests. And basically, it's a quote that I came across, and I was thinking that we could talk about it at length. And the quote that I came across is, "Life becomes easier when you learn to accept the apology you never got."
Life becomes easier when you learn to accept the apology you never got. It sounds like a really broad it sounds like on the surface you can go a lot of different directions. So what do you think when you hear something like that? What is that, what resonates to you with that, and relating to what?
Right, I mean, well, there's a couple things, obviously. I mean, as humans, we have these interactions and these relationships with people, whether they're family, friends, lovers, etc., where either shit goes real bad or just ends just abruptly, or things were said, things were done, and we have a tendency to hold on to these feelings and in this want to either one, find out what went wrong, especially if somebody does you wrong in the picture. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And you never get an apology for the horrible thing done to you. And that's one take, holding on to that grudge, holding on to that hope that somebody's going to apologize for that horrible thing they did to you. Again, whether it's family members, lovers, or friends, etc. We have a tendency to hold on to these grudges, and these grudges eventually, in my opinion, just turn into these just knots of what I consider darkness inside us that just either drives us insane or just completely hinders us from moving forward in life. And then there's also, the other side where, you got that living person who's still living and it still drives you nuts. And then there's the other side where, that person who wronged you in a way that you feel was disruptive to your moving forward in life, you just can't get over it, that dies. And you're never going to get that apology. The hope is gone, and now you're never going to get it, and you just can't let go of it. And all these things, in my opinion, just are nothing but negativity. It just leads to just on us not being able to move forward in aspects of our life, or just in general, to just hold on to this bitterness and this want for an apology that's never going to come.
Right. That's deep. So this is really a multi-layered thing here. So this is really a multi-layered conversation. So on one end of the spectrum, you have these multi-dimensional relationships that we as adults try to navigate our way through. And there's, it's not just romantically charged relationships. It can be platonic relationships. It can be biological, parent, child, sibling.
Right.
It could be, romantically charged relationships. Really, any interaction that we have with another human being as we trek through life, right? Any type of connection you can have with the person. It's interesting how relationships have these main major cycles. It's, you meet someone, you draw a connection, or, draw a connection with a family member, and then something can happen, and those two individuals can end up strangers. Like they never met at all. So you have that part of it.
Like it was, yeah, absolutely.
Right. Then another layer is, which you touched on, the person who did the wrong, whether that wrong was intent. Because here's what it really boils down to: it's learning to reconcile with, one, is the person that did you wrong, was it intentional or unintentional? Because I think that's the biggest misconception in adult relationships. We like to blame people who did us wrong, not necessarily take the time to decipher whether or not those wrongdoings were intentional or just a product of that person maybe not having been properly conditioned to interact with people, because we're going to talk about that too. That
Right.
plays a big part.
Yeah,
And
whether it's an emotional baggage from their childhood,
exactly,
or
exactly.
addiction, or any other type of layer that
Because,
could cause a situation like
right,
that to
because
happen
that's what
and to
life
carry.
is, right? It's a series of conflicts in different situations with different people at different stages, and at what point in time two individuals come together for whatever purpose, it's really that dragging whatever baggage each one had on each side and bringing that into that situation. So then you have that, and then you touched on as the person that did you wrong, living versus unliving, and then how do you resolve someone who's not physically here anymore to ever reach a point to realize there was a wrongdoing and have the opportunity to reach out and try to make amends for that, versus a person who is here but maybe might not be present or may not be accessible. So we'll talk about all that. So
Right.
something, hearing you kind of break everything down, that's coming from a place, whether it's first hand, second hand, whatever it is. So what specifically, when you break that down, what does that bring you back to? Is this a second hand from someone close to you, or this is a you situation?
Well, I come across it in a lot of people, a lot of friends, acquaintances, loved ones, family, where I've got a couple of people holding on to that. I wish, they're holding on to the apology that they're never going to get because the people who wronged them are dead, like dead fathers. And some of these people have lifelong baggage attached to that, and they just can't move past those doors that hide that person's wrong. They just can't open that door and walk through it and get away from it. And those people are in my life and affect my life. I've had my own personal times in my life where I was wronged or I thought I was wronged, and I couldn't let go personally, and until I came to the realization that life goes on and you just got to move on. You got to, pull your boots up by the straps or whatever and just, tromp on through life. It can really hold you back. You can stop. I was in one of the deepest, darkest depressions of my life, and I thought I was the one that was wrong. Now,
Wow.
when I realized that apology wasn't going to come, and it was, I was just trying to cover up for my own wrongdoings, then I got to move on in life, and it changed my life, and I was able to, find love and move on,
So based on that, Dave,
Yeah.
I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, it's good. Go ahead.
Based on that, would you agree or disagree, or just indifferent to the idea? Because this is my ideology, this is my concept. The idea that so much of the hurdles that we have in our adult relationships and so many of the causes for miscommunication could possibly be that, because retroactively you can look back and see what it was and where and what it came from. But
Oh,
when
yeah,
you're
hindsight for sure.
2020, right? But in the thick of that situation, the person who's being wronged maybe can't step outside of themselves to see or to entertain the idea that maybe the person who might be doing them wrong maybe at some point was them being wronged and then didn't know how to reconcile, and then so just through natural progression that person built up walls and then they became the, it's kind of like the bully becomes the bully, or the person who's being victimized becomes the aggressor, but just natural
Right,
kind of
absolutely.
progression, you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
And then so in what
Oh, yeah.
context, like what context, and in what context, because there's so many different things, right? So we relate it to, uh, let's say a significant other, husband, wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever, what are some of the unresolved things that you would think would most interfere leading up to and then throughout that relationship to cause there to be a rift or issues or whatever the case?
Yeah, that's an interesting question there, because I mean, again, there are so many different things that you could. But I mean, if we were just like on a hypothetical level, we could specifically say, let's say, someone had a drunken father. That drunken father got drunk and mistreated them. Let's say a girl, hypothetically, and they mistreated him their whole life, and called them, useless as his tits on a bowl, or just screamed at him, was inappropriate. Either way, it could go 100 million different ways. That type of wronging.
Right.
That person then grows up and then just has these issues in the back of their head that this person was a horrible person. They've ruined my life. Or whether it's conscious or subconscious, I always feel like that's going to happen. And then eventually, once they get to adulthood, they're like, oh, I'm fucked up, or something's wrong. I don't get it. And then they realize at some point, or they never realize, and other people around them can realize their problems, but they never realize that they're holding on to these issues from their past, from their childhood, or even through adolescence and teenage years or whatever, that this person fucked them up completely, and because of that, they're never going to be able to move on unless they realize that this person is never going to apologize. Even if they're an older person, they may apologize on their deathbed, but they're never gonna. Because that person did what they had to do, or what they thought was the best thing that they could do at the time. You got that scenario, or they're just a horrible, terrible person. And then that person dies, and then you hold on to that forever. And you're never going to get that apology. And because this person is dead, you can't move on. You're never going to be able to move on. But you can. And that's another conversation I think later on down this conversation we can have. You can move on. But in this hypothetical situation, I would say that that's the type of situation that I'm thinking of directly. And I know a couple people who have dealt with that particular, type of scenario.
Right. And it's more than just that, too, because, let's paint a story. So you have a little girl.
Right.
And it seems like every adult relationship, no matter what the issue, no matter what the rift is, it seems to always stem back somehow, some way, shape, or form to the father. This is why I hold fathers in such a high regard and to such a high level of responsibility when it comes to their children, because on one hand, you have a little girl, and all little girls volley for their father's attention. And for the little girl who doesn't get it, or for the little girl who gets the wrong kind of attention from her father, whatever that may look like, grows up, and as she enters into her teenage years and early adulthood, will either sabotage every relationship that she gets into until that reckoning that you're talking about happens, or she will seek any kind of attention from any other man as a form of validation, or as a form of retribution to kind of make that little girl believe, because she's still a little girl even though she's grown up, right? To believe that I am worth something, someone can love me, this is, who I am, type of thing. And then you have on the other side of the spectrum a little boy who, same thing, what little boy doesn't want to be like their father? That's your first hero as a little boy. And then growing up in our generation, which makes it even more difficult, fathers are either absent from the home, or like you said, they're, they may drink heavily or whatever the case, because, they're dealing with their own shit and their own stress and demons. And, that's another thing. And then you have young men who come into their adulthood, and because they didn't have that father figure, because they didn't have that person to teach them how to, treat people, how to, interact with other people, respect women, and how to shake a man's hand and look a man in the eyes, and your word is your bond, and all these things, right, that you don't have for whatever reason. Now that young boy, that young girl get into a relationship, And all these issues are going on, and nobody knows what they're doing but just trying to figure it out. But how can you, or is there a way in that situation before we get to the point of, you know, I needed this? Because how do we know that that father didn't need that apology from someone and didn't reconcile? And so then he had kids and didn't know the first thing about what they needed because it was absent, and then the cycle. So in my circle, it's repeated a lot. And I think this is what you were kind of boiling down to when you say you can resolve it. It's either you continue the cycle or you break it. The problem
Right.
is...
I mean, there's going to be resolution either way.
Right.
Or a positive one.
So negative or positive. So how... And I know it's not going to be specific, and I know it's going to be different for every situation, but high-level overview. When you say that you can resolve it, what does that look like? For any hope of any type of meaningful existence past that pain and that trauma.
Right. I mean, for me, it's a reconciliation with yourself, and I've had to have this reconciliation with myself multiple times in my life. But you have to go. It's never coming.
Right.
It's never going to come. It's never going to come. It's never going to come. It's just a wall in front of you.
Mm-hmm.
You have to either open the door right there in front of the wall, or you have to rip that wall down any way you can so that you can move forward, so that you can live a productive life and not have that baggage, that monkey, that demon, whatever you want to call it, holding you back.
Right.
And it's tough, and for many people, they can never come to it because they're not strong enough to deal with themselves. And I'm not saying I'm the strongest person. I get sad every winter. I get massive, I get depressed, and periods throughout the rest of the year. But I mean, I've been like that my whole life. Life can do that to you. There's situations that you just don't want to deal with, and you never want to. But you get through them. You work through them, and these are the types of situations where we hold on to this weird, deep emotional baggage, or these hope for these things that are never going to come in life, and it just holds you back in everything that you want to do, whether it's just to be a productive human being, or to be a rock star, or be a writer, a published author, or whatever, a personality on TV, or just be a dad, a good dad, or be the best you can be at work. These things are going to hold you back, man. And if you can't accept within yourself that you're never going to get it, then you're not going to be able to move on. In the future, if that apology comes, fucking accept it, right?
Right.
But you gotta be the one to make that ultimate mental decision to just not give a fuck about that apology, or that I'm sorry for what I did to you, because it's not going to come, and it's not going to come, and it's not going to come.
So here's a twist, and I'm going to take the long way around.
Yeah, do it.
I categorize people in three major categories, and these are just my theories. These are just my concepts. It's just how I see things. So I don't want anyone to think, this is just my overlook on how I see the world. And I think from these three major categories that I'm going to mention, I think from there you can start to separate out the individual. So on one end of the spectrum, you have the optimist. Now the optimist is hopeful. They see the good in every situation, the good in all people. They see what good can come down the line, even if things are not so good right now in the present. On the other end of the spectrum, you have the pessimist. Now, the pessimist, I don't believe necessarily the way the dictionary defines, just sees the glass as half empty and just sees the negative in people. I think the pessimist has a very unique standpoint. They're cautious and skeptical of the bad, whether it's bad-natured people, bad vibes, whether it's danger coming, whatever they think is in that space of that glass being half empty. but I think they also know enough to know to appreciate the good when it is there, but they're just always skeptical of the bad that's mixed in as well. And then somewhere in the middle of that spectrum, you have a person like me and people like me, the realist. And the reason why I said this is the long way around is because it's going to tie directly into what me and Dave are talking about. I am a realist. The bad part about being a realist is that the people on the other ends of that spectrum always look at the realist as being the negative one. Because the realist sounds like they have a I don't give a shit attitude. But here's what the
Right.
realist really is saying. Life is life. Fucked up shit happens to good people sometimes. And good shit happens to fucked up people. And it is what it is. And you find a balance and you find a way to accept the bad and deal with it. And you also understand and appreciate the good. But you also know that you need both to have a balanced life. Because if you're ever going to appreciate any good in your life, you had to have gone through the bad and taken from that those lessons, right? So,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
so here's the climax. Is it always 100% of the time the fact that the apology never comes, or is it possible that sometimes it's that the apology and the way that it looks and sounds, how we want it to be presented, never comes? Because I think that's an interesting question that we might want to try and answer for a lot of people.
Right. I, I'm, it, I wholeheartedly believe that it's our perception.
Right.
You know, we're the ones putting up the putting on the glasses and perceiving the situation.
Right.
Now, our perception can be helpful, but it also can be detrimental.
Right.
You know, obviously there are things within our bodies and our subconscious that want to protect us, and it's in this situation where the person was rightfully wronged and holds on to that.
Right.
You know, that's okay. But again, you have to move on from that situation at some point. But then there's the person who was wronged in their perception of what happened.
Right.
Now and to hold on to that, knowing that you not, or maybe not even knowing that you're wrong, or fully knowing that you're wrong, but you're the one who feels like you were wronged.
Mm-hmm.
That's even worse for sure, because that's just you getting in your way, totally 100%, and not being able to get past that. And there are people that just hold grudges no matter what happened. And
Right.
It's because that's who they are. That's how they've had to protect themselves, or that's how they perceived that they had to protect themselves in life.
Absolutely. Right.
Yeah, perception does play a lot in this topic, because again, that's, as you say, you're a realist. You're you see things for what they are.
Mm-hmm.
And a realist does see it in both sides, but again, just sees it real. Where we can, or I've become, as an adult, a person that goes, fucking move on, get past it, water under the bridge, shake your shoulders off, or, brush your shoulders off,
Right.
and just move forward. But that's because I was able to do that. I was to see the situation, like Bob Marley says, every little thing's going to be all right. And
Right.
it fucking always does.
Right.
You just gotta work through it.
So, perception is huge. In my first book, literally the very first chapter that sets the stage for the entire book, the first chapter is named Perception is Reality. Perception is a tricky thing, because if you perceive a situation in a certain way, even if right is right, wrong is wrong, and perception's in the middle, once that perception becomes your reality, it doesn't feel any less right or wrong, because it's happening to you. Nobody else can define that.
Yeah,
So,
it's your reality. It's
right.
happening to you. You're perceiving it that way.
So the question is, right, for the person who says, well, for a realist who says they see things the way they are, how does that person not know that what they perceive to be things as they are is really just that person's perception? How do you separate out the two? So if that's the question, should the answer be that the way you resolve these issues, whatever they are, you want your father to apologize for not being a better father. You want your husband to apologize for not being, more attentive, or you want your wife to apologize for not being, whatever you see a wife as being, supposed to be in your bigger picture, in your mind's eye. How do you, one, switch your perspective to maybe for a second entertain the other side? Because I think a lot of people with their baggage and a lot of people with their own shit and trying to figure, because I think everyone's on a mission to resolve those issues. I 100% believe that. What I think the destruction comes from is while we're on that mission to resolve our issues, we're so busy trying to protect us from having that happen again that we don't always necessarily realize the damage we're causing to the people around us, or the good people that we're keeping from getting close to us. Not that we're trying to do them harm, but just because we don't really know what it is we're trying to do while we're trying to get ourselves some kind of resolution. How do you figure that out?
That's a really, really good, again, question. It's hard to gauge that, again, because each individual person has baggage, and then we do carry that baggage, and we do put up walls and barriers, whether they're conscious or not. And it's all individuals. We each have our own issues, and yeah, it's tough to say or figure out, the truth of the matter in most of these situations. So it's a difficult question to gauge.
Mm-hmm.
Again, it all comes down to perspective. But I mean, there are ways that we can get through that. Again, but then like you said, there's those times where you don't even realize what you're doing, and again, you're ruining the relationships around you.
Right.
Because you can't move on from these things, or you don't even realize that you can't move on from these things, and they're ruining the situations and the relationships, and even yourself to the core. I mean, that's tough. And again, I'm not a psychologist or anything.
Right,
These
right.
are just my thoughts.
Yeah, no, and this is just real life, and it 100%.
But it's tough, man. We deal with these situations on a daily basis, and it can be good or bad.
And all your points are 100%. All your points are 100% valid.
Yeah.
What I think this is going to be a hard concept for people. This is going to be a hard thing for people to swallow. But I think it's easier than people realize it is. Why I say that is, for anybody who's been through any traumatic experience, however you define traumatic, you're never going to get over that situation. That's the bad news.
Right.
The good news is you don't have to. See, I think when traumatic things happen and we get used to them happening and we get to a point where we want to protect ourselves from those things continuing to happen, we kind of go into defense mode. And I think that's where a lot of the sabotaging of our future relationships come into play, because, I would probably be considered 100% guilty of having sabotaged a few relationships in my life and people who have gotten close to me, for things that happened before. It's human nature. You can't avoid those things. Where I think the turning point was, and where I think the turning point would be for everyone, is a concept I call brutal honesty. Brutal honesty, being unembarrassed, unashamed. I have a rule with all the very close friends of mine. and I don't have many for this very same reason. I only have a few, and it's brutal honesty. If when we get into relationships, if when we meet someone, if when we decide that this is a person who I'm going to let in, whether it's a close friend, whether it's, whoever, someone that you want to be in your inner circle, if you take that inventory of all that baggage, the mental baggage, the emotional baggage, whatever it is, you inventory that, you put it out in the open. One of two things is going to happen. Your brutal honesty is either going to weed out all the wrong people so you don't have to worry about not being put in that situation again, because people who are not 100% for you and 100% true and ready to go through with whatever with you from whatever
Right.
standpoint, those people will run at that honesty. They will run from that baggage. And that's not them not wanting to have anything to do with you. I think subconsciously it's those people admitting to you that they have their own baggage they haven't figured out. Anybody who's willing to take on
Right.
your baggage with you, my personal opinion, is someone who not that they don't have their own baggage, they do, but someone who has figured out some kind of formula that works for them to deal with their baggage and understands the the way that it can lighten the load to have another person be there to support in any way, even if it's just a friend having conversations or going out every now and then, even if it's a girlfriend boyfriend situation, even if it's a mother father situation or father son, because as we go through life, even parental relationships, even sibling relationships change over time. They all boil down to friendship. A mother father relationship isn't that past your early adulthood. After that, it really is a friendship. It really is just a connection, and you get to know that person all over again. My mom and I, the relationship that we have now, is not the same relationship we had when I was 10, when I was 16, when I was 20. It's a different relationship. You're constantly getting to know these people all over again as you go through these different stages in life. You know what I mean? But I think,
Right. Yeah. But
yeah,
I was going to say, like, in those people, like your mom, like your wife, like your best friends, the ones that you were talking about close, the few that you do have close and they're your best friends, they've went on the ride with you. They were able to perceive and accept your baggage, knowing full well that you were going to bring it no matter what.
right,
They accepted it and they're able to move on and live and grow with you as a human being and evolve with you as a human being. We have to be perceptive of the things that make the people who we are with, whether it's a lover, a friend, or a family member, that they have their own fucking issues, that they have their own baggage, that they're fucked up as much as you are.
oh yeah,
And if you can't accept that, if you can't move on past that, or not willing, like your friends that that have, or like you were saying, hypothetically moved on because they had their own shit and couldn't deal with yours, or etc. But if you can't hold on to other people's baggage with them and help them work through it, or just accept it and move on with them, then yeah, you're not going to have a close relationship. The people that I have in my life that are my closest friends, my family and my wife, etc. I'm an open book baggage wise, and I'm an open book emotionally.
right,
I'm gonna let you know that I'm depressed, because if you don't know that I'm depressed, how are you supposed to feel? Are you supposed to help me through the situation, or at least just know that I'm depressed so that you don't take anything I say the wrong way, etc. Hypothetically.
right. And then as you sort through those different types of relationships and different types of personalities, it's about knowing who is what and where and who is for what. So obviously a parent of yours is gonna see things at a different level, and obviously always going to be willing to accept a lot more by nature, right? Than,
Right.
a friend or a distant cousin or a girlfriend or whatever, depending on how long you've had that person around you. And then it's about knowing different personality types. Everybody should have at least one of those three major category types of people in their life. You need to have somebody who's a pessimist, you need to have somebody who's an optimist, and you need to have someone who's a realist. Because you're going to get three different points of view, and it's the best and well-rounded circle of people to have around you. At least one of each. Because then you can kind of gauge exactly what it is. Like if I go through a situation, I break every rule of what people say you shouldn't do when you're in a relationship. Because people have this antiquated idea about relationships that when you're in a relationship, what happens between you two stays between you two and that's it, and you should never cross-reference. I don't believe that. I think that's part of what's at the center of so much of the unresolved, unapologetic, I'm hurt, you hurt me, well, I hurt you because you hurt me and now we can't resolve it. I think that's near the center of it. I 100%.
Well, yeah.
Yep.
No, I was gonna say, well, yeah. I mean, absolutely. If you can't, if you can't connect with other persons and get different perspectives, especially in situations like that, if you just hold it in and box it in, and then make it, either you don't get over it or eventually you will. But during that time that you're not either communicating or seeing other people's perspectives outside of the situation, if you can't get those perspectives or those thoughts or those people to communicate with you, and you just hold that shit in. It's going to get toxic, and it's just going to tear you apart.
Very fast.
Whether it's short term or long term.
Yep. And it breeds resentment. 100% it breeds resentment. And I think that's the part where it comes from. If I do anybody wrong, first of all, it's not intentional. I'm just the person that I am. It's all I know how to be. It's the collective of my experiences up to now. And I'm sure that in 10, 15 years, I'm going to be me at the core, because my belief is people don't change. They just progress through time, but your core traits, your core characteristics stay the same. But each phase of life that we go through, you pick up different things and you slightly become a slightly altered version of you, right? So
100%, yeah.
I think for the purposes of reconciling, whatever your past resentments are, it's less about the other person, it's more about you. It's at least what I was...
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's at least what I was hearing, when you were kind of going through the whole thing. That's what I was reminding myself of. It's about self-reflection, right? Because if someone's fucked up to you, abusive to you, not attentive to you, whether they're verbally abusive, physically abusive, whatever the case, right? We tend to internalize it as, I'm not lovable. What's wrong with me? What did I do? Why am I being treated like this?
I'm the one who fucked up.
Right.
This person's mad at me because
right.
I'm the fucking problem.
Right. Rather than it's their problem.
Yeah, in all reality,
it's their problem. Right.
It's just I was internalizing that and not realizing that other person had some issues and couldn't, they didn't know the proper way of managing or handling the situation, and then the person took it as, well, I'm the fucked up one.
Right.
I'm the loser. I caused this situation.
Right.
Yeah, that's toxic. Very toxic.
So that's the heavy side, right? Now let's go a little bit lighter for the everyday people, just everyday relationships. The small shit, the bullshit, right? And this is for my relationship people. This is for my, girlfriends, boyfriends, husbands, wives, life partners, however you define it, right? The little dumb shit that creates the little disagreements and spats in relationships. Let's say for example, Dave, I hate to do this to you, Dave. Let's say Dave forgets his wedding anniversary. I don't know, whatever, right? And your wife doesn't say anything to you about it, doesn't let on that it's upsetting, but it is. And some time goes on, and let's say Dave forgets, he forgets that it's Valentine's Day, since that was yesterday. And time goes on, and every time these things happen, right, Dave gets an oh shit moment, or I get an oh shit moment. A few days later, oh shit, it was this, I forgot, whatever it is. Now, these things turn into big shit, Dave. Like, these things cause rifts in relationships all the time.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
So here's my
Oh yeah.
question. Yeah.
Even with the simplest non-intention
Yeah.
to create a situation, it creates rifts and horrible times that we go through in these relationships. Yeah, it's not fun. It's not fun, and sometimes we don't realize it because we're just plain old busy brained or stupid, or we just plain forgot. But yeah, I mean, it can be tough in relationships, especially
Right.
when these situations. And if you pile them on, then you're just a dick.
Right. But now
I mean,
here,
if it's not
yeah.
not intentional, yeah.
But now that's the offense, right? That's the offense. Now, everybody's different. Everybody internalizes someone trespassing against them or causing an offense to them differently. So now,
Right.
Dave, you done forgot Valentine's Day, you done forgot anniversaries. But then, 2 weeks later, it's just a regular day, and Dave decides, for no reason, just because, he knew what he did, he felt like shit, whatever. He decides to send his wife flowers. Has them delivered to her job, or whatever. And then let's say 6 months later, you guys are talking about something. Because this is how it happens, Dave. You're talking about something, you get into an argument, and then, remember 6 months ago when you did this? Or remember 3 weeks ago when you did... This is a relationship. We all do it. It's human nature. It happens. Shit's going good, it's going good. And when shit's not going too good, we don't want to make it bad, so we don't throw everything at them. But then as soon as everyone's mad, that's when the truth comes out, right? Like drunk mind speaks sober thoughts, right? So then you throw everything but the kitchen sink. And then you throw the kitchen sink, right? So then Dave goes, yeah, but 2 weeks later, I took you out to dinner, or I sent you flowers, or I fucking waxed the kitchen floor, whatever, right? Here's what's funny, and this ties into the perception thing. And then she goes, well, yeah, you did that, but I didn't know what that was for. Like, I didn't know that was because of that or that. You didn't say I'm sorry. What I'm getting to is sometimes the apology comes. Sometimes the attempt to reconcile comes. But because that person's not tuned into it, because it's not the presentation that they would have wanted, they don't recognize it. So you don't get credit for it. So because your wife likes to hear the words I'm sorry, or I, as the husband, likes to see the actions I'm sorry, fuck the words, we miss each other. There's a miscommunication. So you never try. You know where I'm going, right, Dave? You see what I'm.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. I mean, sometimes, like you were saying, that whether it's coming at you or you doing it, the apology is coming, or I just like you were saying, we took our wife out to dinner 2 weeks later, just randomly, or bought him flowers randomly. That was our apology in that situation.
Mm-hmm.
Whether we said a sorry or not, that's how we perceived it. And then when you when you come back 6 months later, like you were saying, well, that wasn't an apology. I didn't see, you didn't say I'm sorry, or it's like, again, their perception, and that can create more issues later on down the road or whatever, because nobody's open in that situation where we should be open in talking about it. But, but yeah, I mean, those simple little gestures, whether it was intended to be an apology or not, but if it was intended to be an apology and we don't say sorry or whatever, I mean, yeah, again, somebody else's perception can take it as just something random and not that apology that they were looking for.
But now,
and again, that causes that, yeah.
But should it, and does that make the other person wrong? Because we tend to treat people.
No.
I think by human nature, we tend to treat people subconsciously how we want to be treated. For example, my wife, she's into surprises, loves being surprised, whatever. I hate surprises. I want to know exactly what the fuck's coming, when, from where, how fast, who did it. I want to know, right? Christmas, no, fuck that. What are you getting me? Birthdays, what are you getting me? She likes the surprise thing. Because she likes surprises, she's constantly trying to surprise me. And, this is just not to be an asshole, but, if I tell you I don't like surprises...
It's just a reflection of her personality, yeah.
Right. But if I tell you I don't like surprises, surprising me is not the way to my heart. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I
Yeah.
think it's a combination, which is hard to figure out, of knowing and learning the person you're with, what those cues are, but then also understanding that your cues are not going to be the same as their cues. So when you say life gets easier when you learn to accept the apology you never got, yes. But also, I think, I'm going to interject this, life gets a hell of a lot easier, a hell of a lot faster. And this is the disclaimer. I'm not talking about people who were abused. I'm not talking about those types of situations. Those are wrong types of situations. They're never,
Absolutely. Yeah.
there's no debate. I'm talking about the everyday relationship shit. Life gets a hell of a lot easier, a hell of a lot faster when you learn to accept the apology that came the way it came, even if it didn't look like what you thought it should or wanted it to look like. What about that for a concept?
Yeah, you're never going to get the apology
No.
that you want.
No.
That your customized
Yep.
internal apology that you've been
100%.
calculating in your brain for whether it's hours, minutes, days, years.
Yep.
It's not going to come.
Yep.
It's never going to come, and it's never going. If it does, it's never going to come the way you want it.
Yep.
And specifically, if it does, whether it's that unintentional apology or that intentional apology, that the verbal cues that you were looking for, or the physical cues, the action cues come to you, it's never going to be what you want it to be.
Nope.
You have to accept it the way it comes.
Yep.
And if you can't, then you're never going to get over it, and
Nope.
it's going to create issues, and it's going to create toxicity and poison internally or externally within yourself or with your partner, your family member, your friend, so on and so forth. It's
Seen it happen a million times. A million times.
Oh yeah, and just simply, whether it was a malicious act or unintentional, etc., you're never going to get that apology that you
Right.
in your brain have crafted that you've always wanted. It's never going to come.
And guess what? And you guys have my permission to throw that shit out the window, because you don't need to. Because here's the twist. If you got that apology exactly the way you wanted, exactly how you were looking for it to come, the cynic nature of who we are in this day and age would not allow you to accept it. You might not want to admit it to yourselves, but that's true.
Yeah, we're all dicks. we're all assholes internally. You know, it wasn't even if it wasn't. You know, still not that happy about it, but I'll accept it. Yeah.
Our generation and the tail end of the generation, right in front of well, there's a little bit of an age gap between me and Dave. So I was born in 83. I'm the high end of the millennials. At 34, I'm still considered a millennial, but I'm at the high end. If I'm getting it right, I think Generation X was right before the millennials. Is that correct, Dave?
Yeah.
Okay, I think so.
Yeah, if you went,
because you had baby boomers.
Of these,
you had baby boomers,
yeah,
Generation
Gen
X, the millennials. Okay, so yes, Generation X and millennials, two hardest generations for a lot of reasons. I think because we are right in the middle, where we were exposed to the old-fashioned. We were raised with those old-fashioned ways, and then we saw the technology age take off. We saw the internet age come in. We saw the transition from all these things. We saw the transition from 8-tracks to 12-inch vinyls to cassette tapes to CD players to MP3. We saw the transition from VHS to DVD to Blu-ray and all. We saw all these things usher in, right? So we're so fucked up, we don't know if we're coming or going. And then we're also right at the cusp of the time period from where kids were seen and not heard, and barely even allowed in the same room with their parents when adults were congregating, to an age where kids are fucking into everything, see everything, witness everything, and they're running the families now for the most part. We're so off balance And we've seen so much, experienced so much, you know, even on the heavier side. And me and Dave are going to touch on this next week more explicitly, but you know, look at all the tragedies that are going on now that are commonplace, overly normalized. Schools being shot up and things like that. When we were coming up, that shit was unheard of. You
Yeah,
know, I
absolutely. I mean, and if it was heard of, it was on the news for weeks, and people
right,
tried to focus on it. And now it's just a 3-day spat. We ask the government to do something, and
right,
then we move
and
on
I
to the
mean,
next.
right. I mean,
Yeah, we're seeing it all. We've seen it all. We've seen the best, the
seen
worst
it
of the
all, the
world.
most
We've seen it.
tragic. I mean,
The old, the new. Yeah.
just the point of what I'm doing here is just to try and illustrate how fucked up our generation is, and I think why it spills over into our relationships. I mean, we saw the Twin Towers drop. The millennials who were going into college now, graduating high school, they were in elementary school when that happened, right?
Yeah.
The significance of that one event. I mean, that was the first time in our history, other than like 70 years ago at this point, Pearl Harbor, which is really the only
Right.
recorded time in this country's history, unless you go back to like the War of 1812, where U.S. soil was invaded and we were attacked at home, right? We saw that happen.
Right.
We saw Columbine happen, which was unheard of, right? All these different things that we've lived through and dealt with and tried to figure out how to navigate around and through. And then we all grew up together, and then we all got into adult relationships with one another, not having a goddamn clue of what we were doing. So it stands to reason why so many of our relationships are the way they are now. And it stands to reason why no one knows how to say I'm sorry, and no one knows how to accept I'm sorry. So really, right, Dave, we're all trying to resolve it. But how
Yeah.
how can you meet in the middle? If I'm trying to resolve my shit and you're trying to resolve your shit, how do I learn? How do you learn how to ease up enough for us to both resolve if we both think that the next person's out to get us? Because that's what it boils down to sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, I think obviously there's the internal protection mechanisms that we all individually develop through our childhood, through
Right.
our rearing, through our non-education, through poverty, through being rich. Obviously we have those layers as individuals. But I mean, in a relationship sense, you have to be able to accept that. If you want to be with somebody, or if you want to just be happy in life, that the baggage that we do have, we have to accept that we have our baggage, and then we also have to accept that the person or persons, etc., whoever it is, whatever type of relationship it is going to also have their baggage.
But
and they've lived their own individual fucked up life, and if we can't accept that, and we can't meld our two lives, or in a way where we both cherish and grow based on each other's fucked up past or baggage or whatever, then it can't be resolved. Then you can't move on. Then you can't build a relationship. And as you were saying, that we grew up in a weird time where we grew up with old school values, old school shit, but also this new world where all this other horrible shit is at us, at our fingertips, and at our ability to view and consume constantly. Can create a dire emotional situation within ourselves, where extreme pessimism grows, or you have the opposite where extreme optimism grows, and you kind of have to, like you said, be a realist and be in the middle and accept life for everything that it is, good and bad,
Right.
and move on.
But are we kidding ourselves to a certain extent? Because how difficult is it? So, again, to draw back the connection from the then to now, we grew up in a time when you were taught stranger danger. And if you don't know someone, you stay away from them. And everyone's dangerous. And the world's this big, scary place. True to an extent. And then you have the kids of now who meet on the internet, and 5 minutes later they're best friends. And you invite people into your home through these devices, and the world is so small. Well, it's an easy adjustment for them because they were born into a small world where everyone has easy
Right.
access. We were born into a world where you had to literally watch your back. When your parents said, be careful on your way to school, walking in the morning with your other friends, they meant that shit. It was a serious
Right.
thing. And there were real and present dangers you looked out for. These kids now don't fear shit. They don't have that sense of danger that we had. I don't know why, but they don't. Maybe because they don't venture past their couch to actually go out into the neighborhood. But for whatever the reason, you take a community of adults who were taught essentially that everyone's out to get you, or to at least have your guard up for people who might be out to get you, to then drop us into these adult relationships and say, learn how to communicate, learn how to compromise, learn how to compromise and be trusting, learn how to do this, learn how to do that. It's pretty fucking impossible.
Yeah, it's an impossible thing. It's you know, you have to figure it out yourself, and if you can't figure it out, you're not gonna move forward or grow as a human. But you just have to figure it out on your own. You have to through your follies, and through your achievements.
Right.
You have to figure out the perfect balance. Because you're either in a relationship. Let's say it like this. In a relationship, let's go back to your metaphor of or your spectrum of the types of people that you're saying. In a relationship, you have to be realistic, and both people have to be realistic and open in these situations. And from our backgrounds and where we're coming from, it is difficult to accept that this other person doesn't want to, is out to get us, because again, we're taught that our entire lives that everybody's out to get us. You have to go, okay, everybody's not out to get us. This person is not out to get me. They're not have to be open with them. Or the other opposite side where you all the negative in a relationship. You just continue. It's just a horrible relationship. It's the worst ever. There are always issues. You're never going to get any resolution, but you continue to be in a horrible relationship. Or there's everything's great, everything's awesome, everything's perfect. We don't really talk to each other, but we're always out doing something. We're always having a good time.
Right.
It's this thing. But a real working relationship it's got to be in the middle, where everybody sees the things from their own perspectives, but realizes that other person or the other person in the relationship has their own perspectives, and we have to see that, or else it's going to be either toxic or just, it's just a friendship.
Right. And my advice is this. It's either self-preservation or self-fulfillment. Because let's take for granted that you're right. Let's say everyone's out to get you. Let's say the person that because it's true that no matter how long you're with a person in a relationship or a friendship, you never really know a person. Okay, let's take that for granted. Let's say that you're right. You don't know if this person, sleeping next to you every night. You don't know what they're really doing when you're not around. You don't know. Great. Let's paint the picture as grim as you possibly can. Make it whatever situation you want in your head. But then here's the alternative. You can either keep destroying your relationships because you can't resolve these issues, or you just take it for what it is and live the best life you can now, because now is all you can control. Me personally, I think I started to fare much better in my relationships in general when I adopted the idea that I don't have to worry about people's intentions. I don't have to stress about the apologies I got or didn't get, or how sincere or insincere they were. What started to make the difference for me was when I realized that, one, because I wasn't always a realist. I was once a very naive and optimistic individual. The realist part came later with my life experience. So the bottom line for me now is people are going to be exactly who they're going to be, and I don't need to trust or expect people to be anything other than what they're going to be. And once someone shows you who they are, believe it. But then choose at that point. Do you still want to have that person in your life? Do you still want to give that person the power to affect your life? And I don't care if it's a significant other or if it's a parent. You cannot choose what family you're born into, what parents you're born to, but you can 100% choose how you let them affect your life once you become conscious of the fact that how they're affecting your life is not healthy for you. So it's either you break the cycle or you continue it. And maybe you don't get that apology from that person because, like Dave said, they passed away. Or maybe they're here, but they're just not giving you that apology. Great. So the best way to break that cycle and resolve that issue for you is to be the opposite of what you felt that parent did to you, to your children. Because you're the next best reflection on them. And you're in the best position to show them in that situation what you didn't get, what it should have looked like in the eyes of that little boy or little girl who didn't get it. Because now you can give it to your children. And that's what makes me the parent I am. And that's what should make you the parent you are. And if you're the person who is in a relationship, or you were cheated on, or you were lied to, or whatever the case, and you can't resolve that, then maybe it's not meant for you to. Maybe some things are just meant to be what they are, and we don't need to question them any further than, is this where I should be or not? So,
right. Well, yeah, I mean, amen to that, brother, for sure, 100%. Yeah, I mean, you have to do exactly what you said, and just say that, I'm never, I either move on or I don't. I either grow or I don't. You have to accept that, that you just got to be bigger sometimes in the situation and just move on. Because if you can't, it's just going to destroy you.
Right. Yeah, that's true. The longer you stay, the worse it gets. I mean,
right.
Of course you want to be forgiving in certain situations. You want to make it work. That's everyone's idea. They don't want their situation to fail. They don't want, friendships to end. They don't want relationships to end. But at a certain point, for your peace, for the longevity and health of your future relationships, sometimes you just gotta come to a conclusion that your resolution can just be as simple as, I'm not getting a resolution. I'm okay with that, and just do what you need to do to be okay for you. It's my final thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, I agree 100%. You can't hold on to anything, especially the negativity. You got to keep as much positivity in your life as you possibly can, or else you're going to grow to be a pessimist, a cynic, someone who hates the world and just can't accept anything for the good of anything.
Right.
And you always dwell on the negatives. Yeah, man. This whole topic has been it's been a nice little roller coaster for me thinking about
back
it
some
and
memories.
discussing it. Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, it's a good topic, and I think everybody should have this discussion. You should be able to be open in a relationship and not hope to hold on to the little things, or be able to let something from your past positive future that you could just possibly have in your life. It creates negativity and poison, and no matter what type of relationship you're in, and if you can't move on, whether it be internally or externally, you're never going to get the apology that you want.
Right.
You're never going to get it. It's never going to come.
Right.
No matter how much you choose, you're never going to get that built, that calculated apology that you've been wanting for your entire life. You gotta get past it, move on, see the brighter side of life, and
Right.
And just live life instead of dwelling on the past, whether subconsciously or consciously. It's not gonna do anything for you.
Right.
And you're not going to be a better person if you can't grow.
Right.
That's my final thought on this topic,
and you know what?
It's been a great conversation.
You know what? Here's a quick PS. I'm gonna close with some optimism for people listening. Here's what you can do if you're just getting into a relationship, and you have that baggage, and you have those issues that you might not be consciously wrestling with, but they're there. If you're trusting a person enough to sleep with them, if you're trusting a person enough to share that intimate space with them, have that conversation. Let people in on some of the baggage that you have going on, because I think if you get it out of the way early, unload some of that baggage early on, and the person knows exactly who they're dealing with, maybe you won't see that cycle repeating itself. Because if a person knows that you're already fragile, if a person knows what your baggage is, what issues you're dealing with emotionally, mentally, maybe that will allow them to be open enough, because you're allowing them that power by trusting them with that sensitive information, whatever it may be, maybe you're setting yourself up for a more fulfilling relationship, and that you'll learn more how to resolve things because you have someone that kind of sees what it is you're going through. It's a lot harder 6 months, a year, 2 years into a relationship to look at the person you're with and say, you don't get me, or you don't understand where I'm coming from, if you never told me, if you never told them.
Right.
Let people in.
Well, I think the greatest gift that you can give anybody, whether a friend, a relative, or a loved one, or, you know, getting into a relationship, like you said, is the gift of every part of you,
Right.
who you are, bad and good. Because if you wait that 6 months, years, 2 years, and that person, you know, or you realize that that person has their baggage, they weren't truthful with you, or you never could, you know, open up about that one thing that keeps fucking holding you back to your partner, it's just going to cause a divide, and the relationship
Right.
is going to not work out
Right.
in that situation.
Sometimes the best reality you can create for yourself is someone else's perspective, and you can only get someone else's perspective if you inquire. Next week, me and Dave, we're going to be talking about the recent shooting that happened, right, Dave?
Yeah, we're gonna give that go. We're gonna give our perspectives on the issue, the bigger issue of the topic. You know,
Talk some
the
gun control.
severity, gun control.
Talk some Second Amendment
we'll
rights.
Talk some gun control.
Yep.
We'll talk, you know, mass shootings in America, and you know, other types of information that we can provide for people. You know, just hit it hard, and with our opinions on it. This podcast is a good thing in my life, man. I'm Dave Pottle. You can find me on Facebook. You can find my band Frenemy. We're Frenemy out of Providence, Rhode Island. Good stuff. And like Kevin says, I don't pretend to know everything, and I never will know everything. But I'm just giving you, again, my opinion on the facts, how I see it, and that's it. That's
All
me.
right. See y'all next week. Peace. All right, if you like this episode and you want to hear more like it, or if you have an idea for a topic you would like to hear, hit me up at straighttalk315@gmail.com. That's straight talk, all spelled out, 315@gmail.com. Let me know what you guys thought of this episode, as well as all the others. Like, comment, subscribe, iTunes, Google Play, and now Spotify. See you on the next one. Peace and love.